The courtroom was silent, eerily silent. The kind of silence that squeezes your lungs and makes your heartbeat feel like thunder in your ears. Judge Amy Coney Barrett adjusted her glasses and stared down from the bench, her eyes fixed on the young woman standing confidently at the defendant's table. Karoline Leavitt. She didn't flinch. She didn't fumble. At just 27, Karoline looked like she belonged behind a podium, not in front of it in shackles. She wasn't just calm. She was composed, almost knowing. Barrett had seen defiance before, but never like this. It all began 3 weeks earlier when Karoline, a rising political advocate and community organizer, was accused of contempt, of interfering with a high-profile federal case involving displaced immigrant families. The headlines painted her as reckless, a troublemaker, a disruptor of order. Barrett didn't like disruptions. They say she leaked confidential details to the press, the clerk had whispered in chambers. Tried to manipulate the case from the outside. But what no one said aloud was the truth. Karoline was trying to help the very families the system had failed. She'd uncovered misfiled court documents, children wrongfully deported, and asylum seekers who never got a chance to speak. "I'm not above the law," Karoline had said in her opening statement, "but I'm not beneath justice either." Barrett had made up her mind. This was going to be an example case. Stern judgment, clear lines, no gray areas, until Karoline asked for one thing: to represent myself. Barrett had raised an eyebrow. "You've got 5 minutes to convince me you're not wasting the court's time." What followed was astonishing. Karoline, who had graduated magna cum laude in legal studies but had chosen not to attend law school, by choice, not by lack of opportunity, walked the court through precedents, case law, and procedural failures that even the federal prosecutors had missed. She cited Gideon v. Wainwright as a constitutional cornerstone of justice, and then turned to Brady v. Maryland to expose withheld evidence in the very case they'd brought against her. The courtroom wasn't silent anymore. It was stunned. Barrett leaned forward in her chair. And then came the twist. Karoline called her final witness, one of the mothers who had been detained unfairly because of those misfiled documents. A woman named Lucia. She spoke through tears, of being separated from her 9-year-old son for 8 months, of begging for someone to read her plea. And then, she pointed at Karoline. She was the only one who listened. She didn't just say I mattered, she showed me I did. Barrett looked down, her fingers now fidgeting with her pen. Something in Lucia's voice cracked the gavel-hardened judge's exterior. In that moment, Barrett wasn't a Supreme Court justice. She was a mother, a daughter of immigrants, a woman, and she saw Karoline differently. Barrett took a breath. "Miss Leavitt, you're correct. Justice without compassion is just power wearing a robe." She looked at the prosecutors, then back at Karoline. "I find that you acted within a moral framework this court can no longer afford to ignore." Case dismissed. A hush, then an eruption of whispers. Then applause. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. Karoline didn't gloat. She didn't bask. She hugged Lucia and whispered, "We're not done. There are more to fight for." Barrett watched from the window of her chambers and whispered something to herself, too. Maybe the law needs more troublemakers like her. In the end, it wasn't Karoline's brilliance that won the day. It was her heart. And sometimes, the greatest legal minds aren't the ones who wield the law like a sword, but those who hold it like a shield for others. Message: justice means nothing without compassion. And true genius lies in using knowledge to uplift the unheard. Uplifting, human, and unforgettable, Karoline's story reminds us that courage is the loudest when it speaks for someone else.